You would never hurt your father on purpose, but there are small, everyday things you do, without ever meaning to, that quietly break his heart. He'll never tell you. He'll just smile and let it go. Today, I'll show you 10 of them, so you can stop. If you love your dad, subscribe. This channel is about understanding the people who raised us before it's too late. Number 10, you rush him. You don't mean to, not for a second, but you walk a few steps too fast for him to keep up. You let out a small sigh when he takes a moment to find his balance on the stairs. You say, "Come on, Dad, we're going to be late," while he's still working his arm into the sleeve of his coat. Little things, things you'd never even notice yourself doing, but he notices every single one of them. Here is what you have to understand. This is the very same man who once slowed his entire stride to match your tiny, stumbling legs. The man who walked at the pace of a toddler for years and never once complained about it. Who waited, endlessly patient, while you tied your shoes the wrong way for the 100th time, while you took forever to do the simplest thing because you wanted to do it yourself. He never rushed you. He understood that you were small and that small things take time.
And now that his own body has simply slowed down, through no fault of his own, through nothing but the years he spent carrying your family, every sigh and every glance at your watch tells him the same quiet, devastating thing, that he has become an inconvenience, that the time he now takes is a burden to the people he loves most in this world. He sees you reach the car before he's even made it to the door, and something inside him quietly folds. So slow down, match his pace, exactly the way he once matched yours. Offer him your arm on the stairs, not because he asked, but because you noticed. Let him take the moment he needs. It costs you nothing at all, a few seconds, and to him it says the one thing he most needs to hear. You are still worth waiting for. Number 9, you finish his sentences for him. When he pauses to reach for a word that used to come easily, you supply it before he can. When he begins a story you've heard before, you jump in and deliver the ending for him. You think you're being helpful. You think you're keeping the conversation moving, sparing him the struggle. But every single time you do it, you are quietly telling him something cruel that you would never say out loud, that his thoughts now arrive too slowly to be worth waiting for, that it has become easier for you to speak for him than to simply listen to him. Think about who this man is. This is the father who hung on your every first word, who knelt down to your level and celebrated your clumsy, half-formed little sentences as though they were the finest poetry ever spoken, who would have waited 1,000 years, smiling the whole time, for you to finish a single thought. He never once interrupted you to save himself a single moment. So now, give him that exact same grace in return. When he pauses, wait. Don't rush to fill the silence. Let it sit there, and let him find his own words in his own time. Let him finish his own stories, even the ones you've heard a dozen times before, even when you know how they end. Because being truly listened to, fully, patiently, without being cut off or corrected or hurried along, is one of the very last dignities we are able to give the people we love as they grow old. Don't take it away from him just to save yourself a few seconds. Number 8, you correct him in front of other people. He says something a little out of date. He gets a small fact slightly wrong. He shares an opinion that clearly belongs to another era. You do it without thinking, and you never see the flicker that crosses his face in the half-second afterward. Because remember who this man was to you. This is the father who, for the first 20 years of your life, knew absolutely everything. The man you ran to with every question in the world, who fixed whatever was broken, who explained how engines worked and what to do about the bully at school.
He was your encyclopedia, your repairman, your wise man. And now, in front of your spouse, your friends, his own grandchildren, he is being gently informed that he is behind the times, that his knowledge has expired, that the world has quietly moved on and left him standing there. It is a small death, and it happens again and again. You don't have to pretend he's right about everything. Nobody is asking you to. But you can let the little things go. You can choose not to correct the harmless mistake at all. And when something truly does need correcting, you can do it later, quietly, in private, and with kindness, never as a performance in front of the people whose respect he still longs to keep. Protect his standing in the family that he built with his own 2 hands. He spent his whole life being the one who knew the answers. The least you can do is let him keep a little of that for as long as he lives. Number 7. You look at your phone while he is talking to you. He finally has you there, in the same room, across the same table, after weeks of you being busy and far away, and he begins to tell you something. And your eyes drift down, almost on their own, to the screen glowing in your hand. You're still listening, mostly. You catch the gist of it, but he sees it happen, and you have no idea what it does to him. Because here is the message it sends, whether you mean it or not, that whatever is lighting up in your palm is simply more interesting to you than he is.
That he has been looking forward to these few minutes with you for days, maybe longer, quietly rehearsing what he wanted to tell you. And now those minutes are competing with a screen full of strangers, and the screen is winning. He won't say a word about it. He'll just slowly stop telling the story. He'll let his voice trail off anymore. He knows that, even on the days you won't let yourself think about it. So when you are with him, truly be with him. Put the phone in your pocket, face down and out of reach. Give him your eyes. Give him your full, undivided attention, even if it's only for half an hour. Those few undistracted minutes will mean more to him than you can measure. And one day, when the table is emptier than it is now, they will mean even more to you. If you're watching this and quietly recognizing your own father in any of these, please don't sink into guilt. Guilt helps no one. Instead, feel grateful, deeply grateful, that you still have the time to change every single one of them. And stay with me, because the ones that matter the very most are still ahead. Number 6, you only call him when you need something. A favor, a question, some piece of information that only he would happen to know, how to fix the leaking faucet or where the spare key is hidden. And he helps you, gladly, every single time, because being useful to you is one of the few great joys he has left in his days. But somewhere underneath that gladness, he has quietly noticed the pattern. He's noticed that the phone tends to ring when you need a hand, and then falls silent for the long stretches in between. He would never, ever say it to you. He'd be horrified at the thought of making you feel guilty, of being a burden, of seeming needy, so he keeps it to himself. But a man can always tell the difference between being loved and being needed, even by the child he adores more than his own life. And slowly, quietly, that difference wears on him. So call him for nothing at all. Call him with no agenda, no question, nothing on your list that he can do for you. The call doesn't even have to be long. 2 minutes of nothing in particular will carry him through the rest of a quiet, empty week. Call just to hear his voice. Call just to tell him a small, pointless story about your day. Let him feel, every now and then, that you reached for the phone not because something was broken and needed fixing, but because you simply, suddenly wanted to talk to your dad. That feeling is worth more to him than any favor you could ever ask of him. Number 5, you do too much for him. And this one is hard to hear because it comes entirely from a place of love. You see him struggling a little with something, and you swoop in to help. You carry it for him. You handle it. You take the task right out of his hands before he's even had the chance to try. You're protecting him. You're being a good son, a good daughter. But you have to be careful here, because there is a hidden cost to it. A man's sense of himself is tied very deeply to being capable, to being useful, to being the one who does things for others, not the one who is done for. It is how he has defined himself his whole adult life, as the provider, the fixer, the strong one. And so every single time you take away something he could still have managed on his own, even something small, you are quietly telling him that his time of being capable is over, that he has been retired from usefulness, that he is now a person to be managed and looked after, rather than a man who still has something to give. So let him do what he still can, even when it's slower, even when it isn't perfect. Let him carry the lighter bag. Let him fix the simple thing. Let him help with the dishes, the yard, the small repair around the house. Offer your hand only when he genuinely needs it, and even then, offer it as a partner standing beside him, not as a caretaker standing over him. Let him hold on to his dignity for as long as his body will possibly allow, because being needed is not a burden to your father. More often than not, it is the single best reason he has to get out of bed in the morning.
Number 4. You stopped asking him for his advice.
There was a time, not so long ago, when you brought him every big decision in your life. The job offer, the house, the heartbreak. You sat at his kitchen table, the same table you'd sat at since you were a child, and you asked him what he thought you should do. And now you have your own life, your own hard-won answers, your own circle of people you turn to instead. And that's natural. That's how it's supposed to go. You grew up, and that is good. But your father feels the silence where your questions used to be. He feels it sharply. Because for decades, being the one you came to was the absolute center of who he was. It was the thing that made him feel essential to your life, not just a part of your past. And your independence, healthy and right as it is, can land on him like being quietly, permanently retired from the most important job he ever held, being your father, the man you needed. So ask him, even when you already know the answer, even when it's something small and you could easily decide it on your own. Ask him what he thinks about the decision you're facing. Ask him to tell you about a time he went through something similar. You don't have to take a single word of his advice. That was never really the point. The point is that he gets to feel, one more time, that his hard-earned wisdom still has a place in your life, that after everything, after all these years, you still genuinely want to know what your dad thinks.
Number 3. You treat his stories as something to be endured. And he stops. And he says, "Oh." And he lets it go. But here is what you don't yet understand, and what you will only come to understand far too late. When an aging man tells you his stories, over and over again, he is not simply passing the time, and he is not just being forgetful. He is handing you himself. He is trying, in the only way he knows how, to make sure that some piece of who he was, what he lived through, what he loved, what made him laugh, and what nearly broke him, survives in someone after he is gone. His stories are his immortality. They are how he asks, without ever asking, not to be forgotten. To wave them away is to tell him, right to his face, that his life is not worth remembering. So the very next time he begins a story you've heard 100 times before, let him tell it, all the way through, and then do something that will quietly change everything for him. Ask him a question. Ask for a detail you've never heard before. Ask what he was feeling in that moment, or what happened next, or what your mother said when she first saw him. Because the day is coming, sooner than you think, when you would give absolutely anything in the world to hear that same old story, in that same voice, just one more time. So listen to it now, drink it in now, while he is still right here to tell it to you. Number 2, you are always too busy to visit. And there is always a good reason, isn't there?
Work is slammed. The kids have a thing. The drive is long. You'll go next month, you tell yourself. He'll understand. And the truth is, he does understand. He means it too. He never wants to be the weight that holds you back from anything. But here is the truth he carefully hides behind those reassuring words. Your visits are the thing your father lives between. He marks the calendar by them. In the days before you come, he cleans the house that's already clean. He drives to the store and buys the food you loved as a child. And then he waits, often for far, far longer than you ever realize. And every, "I'm just too busy this time, Dad," lands on him as the same quiet, aching message, that he has slipped to the very bottom of your list, somewhere beneath work and errands and everything else in your full, busy, important life. He'll set out 2 cups anyway, just in case the week changes and you suddenly find the time. So go, make the drive, cancel the other thing, show up, even if it's only for an hour, even when it's wildly inconvenient, and especially when it's inconvenient, because that is exactly when it means the most. Because the visits you keep putting off until next month are not infinite. There is a finite number of them left to you, a number neither of you can see. And a day is coming when you would trade almost anything you own for just one more ordinary, inconvenient afternoon at his kitchen table. And number 1.
This is the one that hurts him the most, though, in truth, it's the one that will end up hurting you the most, and you won't feel the full weight of it until long after it is far too late to fix. Number 1. You act as though you have all the time in the world.
You put off the visit, you put off the phone call, you put off the real conversation, the honest one, the one where you finally say the things that have gone unsaid for years. You put off the, "I love you, Dad," because it feels too big, too heavy, too awkward to say out loud to a man who never said it easily himself. And you do all of this because, deep down, without ever once deciding it on purpose, you assume there will always be more time. Another holiday, another birthday, another chance somewhere down the road to finally get around to it. You behave every single day as if your father is permanent. But he is not permanent. None of them are. And the cruelest hurt of all is not anything you ever do on purpose. It is the quiet, ordinary way you let the days slip past, unspent and uncounted, certain that there will always be more of them waiting for you. And then one day, there aren't. One day the phone calls simply end. The chair sits empty. The driveway stays quiet. And every single thing you always assumed you'd have time to say will become, in a single instant, the things you can never ever say at all. So say them now. Make the call now. Have the conversation now.
Tell him now, not out of fear, not because the end is near, but simply because love that waits patiently for the perfect moment so often ends up waiting forever. He is here today, in the same chair, by the same phone, quietly hoping that it will ring. Don't waste a single ordinary afternoon of it, because ordinary afternoons are all that any of us ever really get, and one day, far too late, you will finally understand that they were the whole gift. None of these 10 things make you a bad son. None of them make you a bad daughter. They make you human and busy and a little blind to a man who has spent your whole life making his love look so effortless it became easy to overlook. But you're not blind anymore. Now you can see them, all 10 of them, and seeing was the only thing that was ever standing between you and doing better. So this week, don't try to fix everything at once. Just pick one. Call him for absolutely no reason. Let him finish the story to the end. Make the drive you've been putting off. Ask him what he thinks. Slow down to his pace on the stairs, and stay a few extra minutes at the door before you go. The things that quietly hurt your father are small things, which means, thank goodness, that the things that heal him are small things too, and every single one of them is completely within your power to give.
If this helped you see your own father a little more clearly today, take a moment to subscribe and share it with someone who still has a dad they can call. And then, please, go and actually call him. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, while he is still right there on the other end of the line, waiting to hear your voice. Because the time to love the people who raised us, out loud and without waiting for the perfect moment, is right now. Go call your father.